Parliament Square, Hobart. This is entered in the urban design category and it's being presented today by fjcstudio and David Hassler. Thanks, David.
Thanks so much. And yes, I'd like to concur that, thank Alan for his overview of the heritage story of Parliament Square, and certainly concur that it was a long and we would say successful collaboration over the many years of the project. So as Alan has outlined, Parliament Square is a wonderful and important site directly behind the Parliament House in Hobart, and the 2009 Sullivan's Cove master plan identified that heritage listed buildings were vacant and underutilised, and that a mixed use quarter with public space improvements was desired for the Parliament Square site. The Sullivan's Cove planning scheme identified that there was a wall character around Sullivan's Cove that incorporated the heritage building built fabric, but also elements such as St Mary's Wall that created terracing up the hill of away from Sullivan's Cove. And topography is a really important aspect of the site and the way that we've approached it, and the setting of this site moving up to Mount Wellington is a really significant aspect of the urban design context of this project. Alan has taken us through the important heritage fabric and the real need to restore that fabric and bring it to a new purpose. As we were first involved in the site, the centre part of the site was largely inaccessible to public access. There were some laneways for vehicles, but otherwise it was a really occupied site and inaccessible. And the standard of accommodation for government departments and for parliamentary services was less than what was required. And Alan has outlined some of the intrusive elements that impacted the heritage fabric. So the urban principles and strategy was to restore and reinforce the street wall to Salamanca Place and to Davey Street and Murray Street, and then extend that through new built form and position new workplace accommodation in a better relationship to Parliament House and with better connection to Parliament House, so that there could be sharing of facilities or expansion of facilities into the lower levels, and then also accommodate government departments and ministerial offices, and then create and frame a new public space that is connected to Sullivan's Cove, and importantly, a through-site pedestrian link connecting from St David's Park through to Murray Street and beyond. The Sullivan's Cove planning scheme outlined a desire to reinforce the amphitheatre quality of Hobart, and the urban design response in terms of the scaling and built form, positioning and height was to develop that amphitheatre quality and really embrace the topography of the site. This is the Salamanca Place elevation with the new Salamanca Building inserted between Parliament House and 36 Davey, with a clear address to the Salamanca Building. And we see that here that the new forms are, as Alan said, very contemporary forms, but inserted in a way that is scaled and articulated and uses materials that have a texture and grain to them, but also a fineness and a refinement to the detailing. And as we move around the buildings, we see that we take opportunities for a transparency in the new elements that contrasts with the more masonry and heavier components of the existing fabric. And as we move around the street frontages to Salamanca and to Davey and then through to Murray, we can see the ensemble of restored heritage fabric and new additions. The entrance to the hotel is also a new arcade connection to the public space. And then here the extension of the street wall down Murray and the opening of the key sort of part of the site through to the public space in the centre, and that important cross-site link linking between Salamanca Place and Murray Street, but framing of Parliament Square in between, and then the positioning of that public space really is at a midpoint position on the hill that gives it a wonderful and unique prospect, and then a sequence of spaces that develop through the site, including the main gathering place at the edge, at the centre of the site. Current and future ground level activation, the hotel and the commercial building provide elements of ground level activation, and that will be further expanded as tenancies are leased and a new function centre is established. We see here the through site, beginning of the through site link from Salamanca Place, moving into the heart of the site, and we can see the transparent elements in contrast to the masonry components, and then within the centre of the site, the retained section of the red brick building that Alan was referring to, and then use of found materials within the site in use of brickwork and timber elements, as well as new elements in this space, incorporation of landscape, and then from that plateau of Parliament Square, there's then this wonderful vista to Sullivan's Cove and to surrounding heritage fabric, and then importantly the return vista through to heritage fabric that was not visible in its previous form, and then the framing of the new elements around that space, and a much more welcoming gesture within the built form and sort of scaling and terracing of the built elements from Sullivan's Cove up the topography. And then we'll just finish here on this view here of the restored heritage fabric incorporated into the hotel, and then new additions visible to the left and right. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Just a quick question in terms of probably, I realise a complicated response might come out of it, but in terms of the interface between the public access and the more privileged access of the site, are there things that you found, was that a problem in the project that needed resolution? I mean, clearly it needed resolution, and how have you managed that, particularly within the interior of the site?
Well, I suppose there's two things I could reference there. The entrance to the and rival sequence to the Salamanca building as the workplace building and the hotel are both very important. They're arranged off the through site pedestrian link. So in moving through the site, you have access to those entry points. The commercial building has this double height raised quality, is quite transparent, has the V columns or Y columns that take the load of the structure away from the St Mary's wall, so making that more visible, sunken garden. So there's a transparency and an openness around the access to that building that's telling some of the story of the site. And then the hotel, it's the public access through that arcade from the public space to Murray Street that is the more direct and the more important, in a sense, the more elevated experience. And the entrance to the hotel is more personal and more lower scaled, and is part of a more intimate and personal experience in staying in the hotel. So that more private experience is not dominant to the public experience.
Has the community started to utilise those, or will that come with the development of the other aspects?
No, I think the community is already starting to utilise it. It's got an intimate scale as much as it's got a large scale. So the community is already using it. I mean, effectively before they couldn't go anywhere through that area. It was a totally inaccessible area.